I'll tell you one thing, there's nothing better in the world than it being a cold day and you take that hot shower and you come out and it's just absolutely beautiful. There's not a speck of the sun in the sky, which I like. There's not really much wind, which is beautiful. And what's also beautiful is when Fiero Formulas pop up for $1,000. Let's go get it. Alright, well, the first problem I face is a shuttle truck here. Well, it's been sitting around for a minute and the battery is currently dead and that tire is quite flat, so gonna have to fix that real quick. So I've got battery charger here. I think this Optimum battery is like dead and actually causing draw, so I'm gonna take it out and replace it with this dual post battery that I know is good, even though it's older and much crappier looking. I'll have to test this battery later, but I'm gonna switch that for now just to see. And then this thing is set up to take a second battery if needed, but hopefully it'll just work with the one. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. Check our electronics center, and I think I'm gonna switch the tires around. I don't exactly have a whole lot of faith in those front tires. All four of these back tires are new and nice, but I think what I'm gonna do here is swap the back tire so that way I can use one of the sets off the back on the front, and then I've got these other dually tires over here that I can put on the back. These are 16.5s, and these tires are a little on the old side, but they have a fair amount of tread left. They all match and they all hold air really well. As far as I can tell, they're not really cracking up, so I mean I have some trust in them, but they're pretty old, that's for sure, but they look nice. I've used them before for about a year, so now it's, I think, a year ago that I took them off. So I'm going to put them back on, but the advantage is if one of these blows out, it'll be on the back where there will be 3 other tires to still support it. So, and then I can just swap one there, but I honestly feel like I have a safer bet with these. And these are standard rims, not split or anything like that. So, yep, there's that. So I think I'll do that, but I don't really want to drag my jack all the way out where the truck is, way over here. So instead, I think we're going to try and get it started and running, and then we'll move the Jeep and pull the truck over there, swap the tires where there's concrete, so that's much easier, and clean up some of my mess. Leaving all my trash out here, not a good idea. Gets in the way. It's quite annoying, actually. But yeah, so let's get started. Let's see. Got some various wrenches. Should be all we need for this little mini project. The hardest part is to not accidentally drop them down in there, because that's really nice. I like to keep them up above the void. Start by taking off negativos. Set that somewhere where it might not fall. Truck conveniently has these holes to hold those, which is kind of nice. Negativo is off enough for me. Oh, and then yeah, this one's got that weird bolt. So that's why I'm gonna That's why I brought all these various sized wrenches out here, because I remember this thing being all funky. So yeah, this is holding this cable that can go to another battery, but we'll probably remove that for this purposes. Really hard to do this with one hand. I need to get me one of those like chest GoPros or something. But probably out of my budget, but we'll find out someday. Okay, there's that one, and then you should pop off. Cool. So battery ready to yoink. Out it goes. Whew. Hey, battery tray's not rusted out yet. That's nice. What's he got going on there? Don't know. Time for new battery. Batter tree. Better Tahoti. There. Ow. Yeah, that's better. Did I break something? No. Okay, good. Get out of the way, cables. There's the ground for the other battery, which is really shitty, but it's there. Okay. Terminal, please. There we go. Okay, there's that one. Tighten him down. Okay, that one's good. Now, other one. Take it. Get this ground cable out of the way. See if I can get that one in there. Probably needs a spacer if I'm not going to run that other cable. It's probably going to bottom out. Yep, it bottoms out. So that's not really that great. Where'd that other cable go? Can I just like set it aside or something? I think I lost it. Or maybe I have another terminal laying around somewhere. Probably not. There's that up there. Let's go find a washer. I know I have a bunch laying out here conveniently at the moment. I conveniently found a terminal. It's not even stripped. So let's do that. Whoop. Perfectly sized. There we go. I do know this battery is currently dead, so that's why I got the charger out here. Just need to go get the extendo cordo over here. There we go. All set. Yeah, let's go get a cord. Okay. There's that. Plug this in real quick. Get our old mechanical charger here, which I much prefer over a smart charger, because smart chargers are stupid, even though that's probably just arbitrary. Alright, have that ready. Set a timer. And then commence buzzing. Let's go see what the truck does. Key should be in it. There we are. For some reason it's got high voltage. Let's try 40 amps. Well, that's strange. Yeah, that's more like it. Not quite. We'll have to give it a couple minutes. So we'll let that run through at 40 amps. That'll be fine. It'll give us some time to bring wheels over here. Okay, it's been a couple minutes. Let's give it another shot. Finger crossed. Alright, so fire up and immediately die means it's currently in security lockout because we pulled the battery out, so I'll fix that later. Requires fiddling with the key for a minute, so I'll let that keep charging, make sure we have a nice full battery. Put it on 6 amps for a little longer. Meanwhile, I'll clean up trash. What a familiar sight, the jump every battery in the lot game, where I'm trying to keep that truck charged because it's having that security system, so I'm having to hold the key over for 10 minutes 3 times with a battery that I just charged. Then the battery from that won't charge. The battery on the tractor was dead, so I tried to charge the battery from the truck, and that didn't work to try and go jump it on the tractor, so I can't move that, and then I needed to move this out of the way so we can get the truck through here, and this thing is dead, so now I'm trying to jump it as well. It's just fun. I can't seem to get a vehicle that doesn't have some sort of stupid battery drain on it. I'm like cursed with that. I don't know what the deal is, but yeah. Let's see, will this one go? Probably not. Worth a try. Nope, not yet. Suppose I could give them more amperage, but the problem with this thing is it's got these really terrible terminals that I can't really get much of a connection on, so turning up the amperage probably really wouldn't do anything but cause a dangerous situation. Hopefully this battery will stay charged, because currently the truck is in the on position, and for some reason neither of my halos work, so that's great. And these lights too. The turn signals work, but the running lights for some reason do not. I got one tire over here. I got my trash out of the way. Well, by out of the way I mean I shoved up there and then pushed the car forward on top of it so I can pretend it doesn't exist, but still. I guess I'll be circling around in here for a minute. Let you know when I get done with that. Okay, truck ran. I took it, filled it up with fuel. Seems like it drives alright, except for there's a little bit of wobbly, I think, coming from this corner. So I'm going to lift it up and take these 2 tires off and check that out. See if it's a tire issue or maybe the axle. It's not that bad though. We could totally live with it, but we have time, so I'm going to check it out. Mostly I could check the tire pressure of that inside wheel, because some dum-dum, definitely not me, put these wheels on where the inside valve stem is not accessible. It's on one of these block sides, so that's genius. Alright, overview time. We have acquired the new vehicle here, and I'm excited to show you. It's really cool. So let's just go right into it, and we're going to go over every speck of detail there is on this vehicle. Let's go. Alright, this here, I hope the wind isn't too bad, but this is a 1988 Pontiac Fiero Formula hardtop. And let's talk about some of the details of that. First of all, Fiero Formulas. They are the same as any other formula when it comes to the Pontiac brand, where it is the high performance model with base model body styling, same as Firebird's. There's Firebird Formulas, which are basically Transams with Firebird bodies. So, you know, some of the body panels are missing there in the back of my truck over there, but it has the basic rockers, it has the basic roof line here, and basic base model bumpers. That's what sets it apart. Normally you would see a Fiero sticker here on the sides of the doors. It will say Formula kind of right along this area, but this one does not, because this car, the guy I bought it from, he actually just painted this car not that long ago, so he never got stickers and never put them back on. Now, he was learning how to paint. He was in paint school, and he did it while he was in paint school, but the work he did is really quite fantastic. There's a couple of imperfections here and there, but overall it's a really good job. It's just as good, if not better, than my blue car that I had painted a few years back. So I'm really happy with it. It looks great. It's a factory white car, and he painted it the same exact white. It looks factory. It's great. So anyways, that's good news. Got new paint, and this is a Fiero Formula. The performance, I guess, is going to be the Fiero 2.8 liter V6, making like 140 horsepower 30 years ago. Probably less at this point, but we'll see when we get there. And this is the car you wanted, because it came with a factory 5-speed, which is fantastic. It's also a little bit basic outside of the performance part. It's got crank windows and manual mirrors and such, but it's kind of exactly what you would want in this type of car. Less equipment, it weighs less, it's a hard top, it's not going to leak. This is a very performance focused purchase back in those times, so it's a pretty cool configuration, and I'm happy to have it. So let's look at some of the details that we have that's specific to this car. First of all, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Fiero experts, but 88 is the only year that you would have these staggered wheels. The rear wheels wider than the front wheels. He swapped some wheels from his 87 GT, so I believe that these are all the same. So same size wheels on this car all the way around, which is fine. They look great still. I am really a huge fan of these wheels, and they're 15, so you can find tires for them. Let's get a closer view at one of these wheels here. It's like a not quite a mesh, but just, I don't even know how to describe it. A perfect pattern. It has Fiero logo here on the caps. It would normally have some like black dust caps that go over these lugs, but I have spares that I can put on there. You can see on the lugs themselves there's like little threads on there that those dust caps kind of screw onto, and that Fiero logo's a little bit chipped away, but that's what the wheels look like. Now, if this was a SE model, it would say SE in these windows right here, but this is not an SE model, so it does not have those. Whereas opposingly on the GT here, GT will have this big long windows, and it will say GT right there. So this one a little more sleeper-like, I guess, in that way. Let's see what else is going on. I haven't really had a chance to really look completely through. It was late at night and dark and very rainy, so there's that. Hopefully I'm not getting too much wind. Stand over here or something. I see a factory spare in here, which is cool. Most of the time those are missing for some reason. They add a little bit of weight, which helps, but I've found myself taking it out in order just to have more storage space. This car also has a new windshield installed, which is really cool because most of the time I find the windows to be leaking somewhere up in this top area. Just a little bit of no run on the inside of the window down. And again, because it's this nice, beautiful hardtop here, there's no sunroof to leak. The other thing that's truly amazing to me is these window seals. Let's see if we can get a closer view at them. They are in fantastic condition. A little bit of paint overspray, but the fact that they even exist is great. Let's go look at this GT real quick and look at its window seals. Keep in mind, this car has 80,000 miles and was stored indoors a lot too. But as you can see, those seals just don't exist on this car. And they didn't exist on that other car either, and they don't exist on my blue car. This is the only car I've had where these window seals are even a thing. So the fact that they're there, and on the inside as well, they're still present and they're rubbing up on the window, which is really cool. I noticed too, this car, another part of the basic options is that it does not have a rear window defroster. Whereas I don't think the GT does either, but my blue one does have that option. Let's check. Nope, see, no rear defroster in that one either. But you could order that option where it would have the lines in the window, but this one does not, because keeping in tune with that, keep it bare bones, only looking for performance here. Moving here with the back of the car. Of course, notchback styling. We have the notchback taillights. This one looks a little sunburnt. Could use a little bit of cleaning up. This one is a little better, but not broken out, not busted out, not scratched real heavy. These will be perfect to restore. So I'm happy with that. I've got some spare sets of these, but I think these are going to work out pretty good. They look nice. They even have all the caps still on, which is cool. A lot of times these little caps, they'll be missing. So that's fine. Trunk rust, for you that know Fieros, know that Fieros always rust in the trunk corners. And there's a little bit there, not much. This side is worse. There's a pretty good sized hole right there. But it only looks marginally larger than what was in this car. Let's take a look at this car real quick for comparison. And you can see the size of hole that I had to cut out there where this one had rusted through. So a little hole there, and I think we can see on this side, yeah, see the hole in there. I still got to cut out this area and do that. So there's a little bit of difference there, but that's always a rough spot. You just want to look out for when this whole area is like completely rusted out. That'll usually be an indicator of the central frame rail starting to rust, because basically once this rots away, then all the water is just going directly on that frame rail, and it sits on top of it and it eats its way down and just goes right down through it. With the bumper exposed here, you can kind of see what I mean, where like there's this wall or this piece of metal sticking up and up on the other side, and so the water will pool in this valley here once there's too big of a hole up there in the trunk, and it will eat down and go through this layer and go down and go through this layer, you know, take out some side in between. It just ruins the whole thing. So that is what kills frame rails. So basically just want to cut this out, clean it up, patch something in there, and try to not let it rust out anymore. I'm gonna have to take out this trunk liner because it got full of water in here, so that's great. Let's see, paint chipping away at this. It's got the poly bushing dog bone mount, and I see the exhaust has been modified a little bit. There's a bunch of clamps on it, but we still retain the factory quad tips there, so that's cool. This car still has a battery in it. Not sure if it's any good, but the fact that it has one in it is good to know. It looks, he said that, I guess a little bit of background that I'm missing here. He stated this car ran and drove 2 years ago, and it drove into the spot that it's in, painted panels, never got it fully back together, and has decided to part ways. He has another one that's actually really, really beautiful, and I really enjoyed it. So I hope he keeps that one forever, but this one, I'm hoping, this is my hope, is that this can be a wonderful, totally stock, daily drivable 88 Fiero Formula, because that project there is going to take a long time, and I still have all my body panels I got to swap onto it, because in case you weren't aware, that green is plasticked up, and I'm not keeping any of those panels. I'm only keeping like a couple pieces that I'm missing, and I'll have to repaint them, but I've already got my painted panels that are going to be swapped later once that swap is all done. So that green is not permanent. That's going away, I promise. This one, though, is perfect the way it is. I mean, this being a Fiero Formula and being a factory 5-speed, if we're going to talk production numbers here, here is a list of all of the Fiero production numbers. Now, if we look down towards the lower here, there is numbers for 1988, which is the year of our Fiero, the final production year, and we can see for base coupes there's 13,910, 88 formulas, which is what we have, 5,684, and for 88 GTs there's 6,849, making the Formula being the least produced versus the other models in 1988. Now, if we come over here to the side, 4 formulas of those 5,683, 4, somewhere in that range, it's split about 50-50 between the 5-speed Getrags versus the 3-speed autos. Now, there's also here a list of the formula colors that were made, and we can see the most common color being the bright red at 1,966, the least common being the 261 in silver. Ours is white at 1303, and if we presume that's split about 50-50 on the transmissions, that puts us having about 1 of 600-700 white 5-speed stick formulas made. Of course, you could technically keep breaking down options further and further until every single Fiero is pretty much unique in one way or another, but just by color, model, and trans, that's what we have, around 1 of 600 or so, which isn't particularly stupid rare, but it's definitely getting harder and harder to find, especially if you wanted a particular color, which I am definitely a fan of the white or the black. I would do either one of those, but I don't know if I'd really want any of the other colors. But that's just my personal opinion. But that gives you some perspective on rarity levels here, and you can compare the other numbers if you wish. Anyhow. And unless you really knew Fieros very well and knew about those stickers down there and knew some of the other small cues to go for, it's really hard to tell a formula from just a 2M6 car. So, anyhow, the other thing that makes the 88 Fiero unique from 84 through 87 models is, of course, the suspension, which has a tri-link back there, and the steering and suspension up front is different. The control arms are longer and the steering radius is tighter. So, and there's no steering damper on the 88 model as there is in the previous years. I don't know if I can see that on this car. Well, the hood's closed, but that's at least one thing that I can actually show you without diving super far into the car. Hey, the door opened this time. I'm gonna pop that open. See if we can get around over to this side. And see, this is what I mean. In case the guy I bought that from is watching, this is the Fiero GT badge that I have on this car, where it's outlined in red and it says Fiero GT. His car is also an 87 GT, but he has a plain silver badge that says just Fiero, not Fiero GT. So interesting difference there. I'm not sure which one is actually the factory one, because I haven't had enough of these to know that small detail, but that's interesting that there are different badges. Anyhow, maybe I can't really see it. Never mind. Well, I could see it over on that red car, but that's far away. But anyways, there's a steering shock absorber going like this over on that department. Or on this car, you can see down there, there is no shock absorber. It sit like right in this area. Anyhow, minute differences. Both 87 and 88 have improved pop-up headlight design. You can tell by the knobs. These, they're kind of more conical knobs, and they're small. Whereas the earlier 86 and earlier models, they will have a large fat knob, and it will be kind of square compared to this kind of conical shape. So make note of that, depending on which headlight motors you have. If you want the improved models, you'll want these ones, and if you're ordering rebuild kits from, I believe it's Rodney Dickman sells those, make sure you get the right ones for which headlight motors you have. So that's one telltale way to know, because it is possible, and I've seen it, that headlight motors will get swapped around. So pay attention to those. But these two looks like they have not been touched. He also claims that these headlight motors both work, at least back when it was running. This one being rebuilt, that one not. That's why you see crimps on that one and not on this one, is my guess. So there's that. Interior wise, let's take a peek inside. Dark gray interior. It's got this 4-spoke wheel, which is not my favorite wheel. I much prefer the GT wheel, but it's there. It works. Beep, beep, beep. Let's see. Car has more miles, 168,000 miles. But that means that it's actually been running and driving, which is good stuff, I suppose. There's a few cracks in the dash. I've had better dashes, but this one is also not that bad. Definitely seen worse. It's kind of messed up right in there, but overall it's pretty good. I feel good about it. Seat wise, it's got these covers on it that are actually very close to factory. I'm not sure where these came from, but I'm curious what the seats look underneath. Got Fiero floor mats in here. They've seen better days, but we could clean those up and make them work. Factory radio still installed, which is neat. And factory cobwebs. Never find a Fiero without those. And then I just realized as my head is hitting on it, the saggy headliner, which is a shame. And of course the really poorly built sun visors. Fiero sun visors are all junk. But overall not bad. And it looks like to me that, yeah, well, I suppose if you don't know Fieros that well, this is what I'm talking about right here, where these, I don't know, surrounds, I guess, right here going around this plate and this one going around this plate, they love to just peel away like that. And sometimes these will just, on this plate here, it'll just look like a circle, just splitting out on either side terribly. This one doesn't seem so bad. This one's got this mess going on here, but this part is actually really, really good. All these buttons are work. Even this HVAC door does not seem like it's super stuck, so that's nice. All this stuff seems like it's present and working, so good stuff. Really not a whole lot to see in here. How's the clutch feel? clutch feels great. Like that. Brakes. Feels like there's brakes. Happy with that. Throttle body works. The only thing though is that I believe that I failed to acquire the key from him. So I do not have a key. So that's interesting. I'm not sure how I'm going to get this started without a key. I might just have to screwdriver that one over and then get a new one. Luckily those are only like $15. But yeah, that's what we're seeing thus far. Try to get out of here. A lot of leg room, but not the easiest to get in and out of. Engine itself, it's got some paint overspray on it, which is of no surprise for a repainted car. The trunk wall here is a little bit of scaliness, but nothing bad. A little wire brush might help that out. From what I can tell though, it seems alright. I wonder if I can get a look-see more underneath down here, but probably not. No, probably not. I think it's fine though. It's hard to tell. You can see all these clamps though on this exhaust. It's all not that great, so curious how many exhaust leaks we're gonna hear when this thing starts up. With the basic information over with, let's start on diagnosing this thing a little bit, I suppose. Okay, now problem number one, I failed to acquire the key, and not sure if Guy's gonna find it or not, but that's okay because I have some spare locking cylinders here, and they're relatively easy to change. The hardest part is just getting the steering wheel off. So I've got polar kit here and cross fingers. We'll see if that will come off. The first step with the 4-spoke wheels, they got this little rectangle that comes out here. On the GT wheels, the horn is a circle, and you take out the circle. Nothing on the back you have to worry about, so let's get into that. This clip here that needs to come off, and then just that nut. And then of course we have these 2 holes here on the side, which our puller will connect into. So I'm gonna get this clip off and set that up, and then show you what that looks like. Alright, this is the pulling setup. We have these 2 bolts here going into the threads down there in the column, and then we got this bolt here in the middle with a nut on the back side. That's so that way as this bolt tightens and goes in further, we'll keep this nut held here, and because that bolt can't go that way, it's gonna have to push this piece here back, which is currently holding onto the steering wheel, so it'll force the steering wheel to go this way. So start tightening that, and hopefully this comes off and just pops on off for us. Just get some pressure on it, and it popped off. I gotta get something there for it to line up in that little hole in there, that's all. So give me 1 sec. Okay, I basically just had to go to the bench grinder, and I made a little chamfer there on the end of this bolt because they're missing the actual bolt, as you can tell. I've been using it this way for a while, but I need to just get a new pulling kit at some point, I suppose. But let's see if this now works out for us. Oh, though I suppose not really that bright, because I should probably remove the steering wheel nut first. Okay, redo. Now that nut is no longer there. My bad. My brain only works half the time, you know, so hopefully this will work now. And make sure that is set to tighten mode. Perfect. And now I just need to get my wrench on the nut here. There we go. And hopefully we will see some action. There, it's getting tight, and then I should feel, yep, there we go, there's the looseness right there. So now, that is free. So we'll just get that out of the way, get my wrench out of the way, him out of there, and then fling. Let's get these guys out of here. There's one. There's two, and then this steering wheel, I believe. Sorry. There we go. Freedom. And column is not broken. So that's really good. I'm really happy that this column is as nice as it is. Now the next step to get towards the cylinder here is there's a little snappy ring back in there. I don't know if you can see that gap, that ring there, but a little pick can go in the grooves here, pop that out, and we'll just start digging. I wish I could have recorded this part, but it's kind of a three-handed operation and I only have two hands. The thing is that there's a spring behind this guy, and this plastic piece just kind of pops off, by the way. If you're having a hard time with it, look at these two opening slots, and that's kind of, it latches, I don't know, somewhere around in here, but just kind of pull at these areas and it'll pop off. Anyhow, the thing is there's a spring behind this, and you need to push this gear looking piece back in order to get that snap ring. So I'm able to just kind of, with one hand I'm using a pick with kind of this shape, and just start anywhere. It doesn't really matter where. I prefer to start close to the tips of the ends of the snap ring there, but you can start wherever. Just push down on one end and then get your pick under that part, and then once you get that started, you just kind of keep pushing around and around and keep it up, and then once you get to the very end, push down on that end while pulling it around, and the whole thing should pop off, and then it will jump forward at you. You can see mine came about a ½ inch forward because this was inside of here. So carefully pull this out and try not to lose that snap ring right there. Set that aside. And this guy, he comes out, and then this is that spring that I'm talking about that you're fighting against. But we can leave him in there for now. And then you can see your turn signal operation here, where it's got these grooves in this plastic piece that's attached to the stock, and it holds itself with this metal retainer here, and that holds it into the different positions. So there's that. There's some screws in here, and just try not to lose these pieces, and maybe take a picture of what they look like in case you forget. But there's 3 main screws here, and you just move the turn signal around to get to them. The first one is this one, but we don't want to take that one out yet because we're kind of using it. If you go up, you can access this Phillips head right here, and then you go all the way down. You can see that one kind of hiding down there in that corner area there. So take out those 2, and then you'll take out this little metal black piece here will kind of fall out, and then this yellow plastic will be able to relieve, and you'll be one step closer to that lock cylinder. Okay, and with these steps, this piece is now out. Now I might point out I forgot a couple small details. Once you get those 3 screws, there is a 4th one back hidden in here, and then you'll also have to remove the little hazard switch here, and he's going to take a Phillips head 1 versus all these screws were Phillips 2. You'll just reach in there and whoop, whoop, just like that, and he'll come off. He's got a little springy spring in him, so be careful not to let him fly away. Keep a hold of it, and then voila, and then this piece will be in there. It'll seem a little stiff, but just pull on it because you're just pulling this wiring harness back. You're not going to break anything, so don't worry. Just be careful and pull that back. And now we can see the ignition lock, and we have some star screws holding that thing on there. So we'll just want to go ahead and get our star screwdrivers out and start pulling away at these screws. I believe that we really only need to take out this black one here, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I've done these. So I'll see if I can take that one out, that being the retaining screw, and then this guy should just whoop, pull out. Voila! Ignition switch removed. Just have this little special guy in here. Once you pull him all the way out, he just goes whoop, right on out. So easy peasy. Now let's get our new one and throw it in there. Now the only problem is that the garage is currently a complete pigsty, and I know there's a ignition switch laying around here somewhere, but I can't find it. You guys see that anywhere? Because I'm not. Maybe it's over in up on this somewhere. There's a bench grinder, some gloves. No sign of one there. Maybe it's on this chair. No. Spare notchback taillight though, but not there. Maybe it's over on this table? No. I think just Nissan stuff there. The old Fiero GT taillights? No. Shipping stuff? No. Bolts? No. I'm just not sure what happened to that guy. He just kind of disappeared. Well, I guess I'll keep looking. Okay. With our new ignition switch in here, which I actually found that my Cadillac one does not quite fit. It will slide in and engage just fine, but the width here on this surround up here up top for the chip resisting mechanism there is too fat and does not fit inside the plastic here. So I actually robbed that ignition switch out of the green car, but that's cool because I have a few spare keys for this, as well as the ignition switch in that is going to have to change anyway to the ignition switch from the silver car, since we're going to be fully integrating the wiring harness from that car in there. It's going to require that resistor chip key for the security system, so that it all actually works out fine and dandy. So now with this in place, we can now switch to on and start and come back. You can push the little lever here and we're good. So now to just basically repeat the steps in reverse, put this all back together, and I will see you like installed with new ignition switch, new used ignition switch. So now with that squared away, let's start looking into what we need to look at in order for this thing to fire up. Now, with a car that's ran when parked and there wasn't issues with it, it should be pretty okay. Now it's been sitting for 2 years, but I say only because it's not that long. About the 4-year mark is when it starts getting troublesome. But 2 years, I'm gonna go with the gas is probably still okay, and that being it was indoors, and from what I can see up here just looking briefly, I'm not seeing any signs of anything chewing away at all the wiring and all that, so I'm going to assume that's all okay. So I think mostly all I really need to do here is do a basic fluids check and give her a go, I suppose, because it hasn't been that long. If this was longer, we'd be going more in depth if this was a 5-year sitting car, but 2 years, and the conditions in which it were stored in, I'm going to say it's probably just fine. So let's take some checks and we'll see what we see. First step here is going to make me look stupid because I need to check oil, and it's been a minute since I looked at a 2.8, so I don't remember where the stick is. Obviously it's got to be around here somewhere, but I'm currently not seeing it, and I'm sure Fiero guys will be laughing at me for a moment, but that's okay. Hey look, that looks like a brand new alternator down there. See that? That's all shiny. Okay, that's nice. Unfortunately, that did not reveal me a dipstick. Okay guys, I apologize. It is in fact right here. I don't know why I didn't see that, but there it is. So let's see, it's been sitting for 2 years, so I don't really need to put it back in probably. And where is focus camera? Focus on the stick. Maybe if I set it down here. There we go. You can see it's right at the ad, but look at the color. It's not pitch black. It was recently changed. Means I don't need to change the oil on this probably. Just throw a little bit in there and that will be just fine. That's beautiful. The other thing I could also do is give her a sniffs. Yep, that's oil. Cool. I did not smell gas or maple syrup. That's good. Let's also check coolant in not one, but 2 locations when it comes to the Fiero. Actually, I take that back. Not 1, not 2, but 3 locations in the Fiero. First one, right on top of the engine. It's the only car I've ever seen where it's like this, but that's where the thermostat is, and you can just pull it out right here. So, assuming it's not completely stuck, which it probably is, so let me go get a glove real quick. Hercules! There we go. There, it comes off. Whoa! She's full of bright green. Look at that, that's very clean. I dig it. And just for demonstration purposes, there's your thermostat. Right there. And we can see it is a 195. So, for me, I love this with taking road trips and stuff because if you ever have an overheating problem, you can easily just carry around a 160 degree thermostat and throw that in there if you have to keep it cooler. Get that on. There we go. Now, conveniently with the hood off, there's the radiator up front with its own radiator cap. Now, being that that side was completely full, I'm going to assume this side is too. I can't really get it open. That one's really stuck. The other thing is, of course, the reserve tank, which is also full, and it looks to be pretty nice too. So I'm going to say that coolant is good. The brake fluid was a little low, so I did already add some. We had to do that earlier. Got wiper fluid, need that, and clutch is also full. So with that, we know all of our fluids are in check. One other thing to check for is, what is that? I don't know. Fireproofing, which is going to be, somewhere in here. This guy down here. This wire right here, see that? There's 2 bolts with a little plate there. That is the heater core resistor. And if mice have decided to enter the car, they will build a nest right there. And the resistor gets very hot. And that's where a fire breaks out. So a fire preventative is to check that. Now, of course, the resistor won't get hot if you have the fan blower either off or full high. But if you're in any of those median ranges, that's where that thing gets hot. So for now, I will just simply not do that, but I will open that up later. But with knowing these things, I don't see why this thing doesn't run. These vacuum hoses, which are normally rotted completely, are not. They're not chewed on. I feel pretty good. We could always check the air filter here real quick if you wanted to. And I'll see if there's anything interesting going on there. If I can find a wrench. Is it a 10? No, it's not. Didn't think so. Let's try a little larger. Oh, sorry. There we go. Wow, that only took 10 years. Woo! A little bit of rustiness in this car. Not great. Certainly not great. Wow, that's pretty awful. We're just gonna pretend we didn't see that. This car's perfect. Well, get in there. Ah. Well, help me understand here. I believe I've got to aim for the rod. There it is. Now I'll spend the next 5 minutes throwing that back on. That way this engine can suck all the water and rust in, because that's really nice. It feels as though, if I had to guess, this car hasn't really seen salt, but it was exposed to a very damp area. I'm gonna guess that this thing was, before the guy that I got it from, because he had had it in the garage the whole time, and I believe him, that it was probably under a carport or a tree or under something outdoors, and it was very humid. Could have been in Kansas, not sure. I think you might have told me actually, but I don't remember, because I only remember half the things I hear. And with that, we're ready to attempt the first fire. First attempt. How's the fuel pump? Attempt 2, because I believe there is a clutch safety, so I should probably push that in. Okay, so the starter is engaging now. It's just too dead, so we'll keep it charging it. Let's see how bad the battery tray rust is. P.S. It's always terrible. Oh, hey, it's actually not bad. Actually, looks really nice. Normally, that's just a giant rust hole.
Like you're worried your batteries don't fall through?
No, I just find all the rest to be really annoying. Okay, hopefully this battery fits. It's a little wider. Get out of the way, wiring. It doesn't really fit, but it'll work. About 10 minutes or so.
That's loud.
We got some voltage problems. That is belt smoke. That's what that is.
That was smoky. But hey, it started.
I wonder if one of these pulleys is seized or something.